So, I'm waiting for the attendees to be admitted. Good morning to everyone as you're joining with us. We're going to wait just a moment or two to make sure we let all the participants who are interested in. This session is being recorded. So welcome back to our 13th annual NOLA ILC Information Literacy Forum and our 5th online conference. We're so glad everyone could make it. We're really excited about the lineup of the presentations that we have this year. So please make sure that you are muted for our sessions. When you come in, you should be muted. But I just want to make sure that if you happen to toggle it off to test or anything, that to turn it off for our presenters. My name is Alicia Schwarzenbach. I am the Vice Chair of the NOLA ILC Executive Board. Our chat monitor today is NOLA ILC Executive Board member Brandy Brabante, and she is placing in the chat some links to our various informational and policies. We want to start by acknowledging the original inhabitants of this land. The city of New Orleans is a continuation of a multicultural indigenous civilization on the Mississippi River, known for thousands of years as Bulbanka, a Choctaw term meaning place of many tongues. The Choctaw, Homa, Chitimacha, Biloxi, and other native peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and the resilient voices of Native Americans remain an inseparable part of our local culture. The New Orleans Information Literacy Collective would not only like to acknowledge and honor the indigenous people of this land, but we encourage our executive board, presenters, and attendees to shift their approach to land acknowledgements and consider meaningful activities and reparative actions to support Native communities. In consideration of our information literacy mission, we asked that over the course of the forum this week, that you take some time to support Native authors. We recommend reading a book by an Indigenous author, requesting a book from your local library, purchasing a book from an Indigenous-owned bookstore, or purchase books for your library's collection. It costs nothing to rate and review Indigenous books. It costs nothing to recommend a book to colleagues. This call to action is a tangible way to help Native writers tell their stories, take back their narratives, and have their voices heard. These are just a few recommendations, but by no means do they encompass all the ways in which you can support Native communities. We encourage you to continue learning and participating as we aim to avoid performativity, and work to be equitable, inclusive of all. A list of links and resources in support of Native communities will be placed in our chat, as well as our acknowledgement. There are a few housekeeping matters we want to take care of. There will be 3 different presentations today, a short lightning talk, and then 2 30-minute presenters, after which we'll have questions from attendees. You can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and our chat moderator will keep track of them for the Q&A session afterwards. You can also use the chat box to let us know about any tech problems you think you may have that might be originating on our end. And finally, as I said, in the chat right now, you have a variety of information, our URL to our link tree that has our social media channels and that land acknowledgement and action statement. We will be sharing this recording with our participants on our YouTube channel soon after the conference. And just want to make sure that we are recording. Yes, excellent. So today we're honored to welcome Zach Tompkins and Leah Powell, presenting a lightning talk, A Good Fellow is Easy to Find, Successes and Lessons from LSU Special Collections First Faculty Fellowship. Lori Spradley sharing Teaching Social Consciousness by Using Graphic Novels, and Daniel DuPont with I Can Canva and So Can You, Basic to Advanced Techniques for Creating Snazzy Web and Print Graphics. So let's get started. Zach Tompkins has been University Archivist at LSU since 2019. Much of his work focuses on studying and preserving student voices. Dr. Leah Duncan recently joined the library team at Davidson College as the Digital Humanities Librarian. Before moving to North Carolina, she worked at LSU Library's Special Collections at as their Digital Engagement Librarian. Welcome, Zach and Leah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Thank you to the collaborative and the organizers, Alicia and Brandy, for creating this space for us to build community as professionals with a shared vision about the importance of access to quality information. This is such a great opportunity and a privilege to be able to exchange ideas and challenge ourselves in ways that might improve our own work back at our respective institutions. Dr. Duncan and I are excited to kick things off this morning, and we're looking forward to hearing from the rest of the programming that follows. As mentioned, I'm Zach Tompkins. I'm the University Archivist at LSU. I spend the majority of my time trying to elevate current and historic student voices in the official history of the state's flagship university. And one of the ways that I do that is by incorporating those perspectives into the primary source instruction that we do at Hill Memorial Library. That capacity has been further enriched by the Faculty Fellowship, which is now in its second year and was the innovative program led by my colleague and co-presenter, Dr. Leah Duncan. With that, I'll throw it to you, Leah.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah, I'm Leah Duncan. A couple of months ago, I transitioned into the role of Digital Humanities Librarian at Davidson College. But before I took that position in May, I was the Digital Engagement Librarian in LSU Library Special Collections, and the project lead in developing the LSU Special Collections First Faculty Fellowship. So to get into the meat of this lightning talk, 1 year ago, LSU Library Special Collections launched our inaugural faculty fellowship. The goal of the fellowship is to encourage digitally engaged and archive-centered teaching across campus. And in pursuit of that goal, we selected 6 teaching faculty members and provided them with a 3-day orientation, paired them with a library collaborator, allotted time for the cohort to engage in a community of practice. We also provided a $2,000 professional development stipend. And in return, the fellows redesigned part of a course they expected to teach, making it more archive-centered and at times digitally engaged. So with that overview in place, I now want to credit an existing model that inspired LSU to establish our fellowship, specifically the University of Georgia Special Collections Libraries Faculty Fellows Program. UGA established their faculty fellowship in 2015. Like our own iteration, their program is designed to raise the visibility of special collections as a pedagogical framework for fostering collaborative teaching and experiential learning. LSU Libraries saw the way in which the UGA Fellowship was enabling innovative archive-centered learning and we wanted a piece of that too. So UGA generously talked us through details about how they run the program and helped us get our version off the ground. LSU's implementation of the Special Collections Faculty Fellowship differs from UGA's in a couple of ways. First, in terms of scheduling. So UGA's fellowship takes place over the course of 4 intensive summer weeks that include several full days of archival skills workshops and activities, a week of independent work in the reading room, an institute during which fellows share their course redesigns. LSU downsized this intensive institute to a 3-day orientation, and then we extended it into the fall with bi-weekly 1-hour meetings for our cohort of fellows throughout the semester. So in line with the title of this presentation, Successes and Lessons, I would categorize this change as a definite success, especially for our first year. We gave ourselves significantly less to plan for the summer, which was a more realistic match for our time and capacity. And by stretching the fellowship into the fall, we allowed ourselves space to adjust as we went, remaining responsive to the specific needs and interests of our cohort of fellows as they developed. LSU's fellowship was also slightly different in terms of focus. Whereas UGA prioritizes engaging with the materiality of archival materials in person, we chose to highlight digital engagement as well as materiality. This is largely due to my own interest in digital scholarship, and also the team's desire to find ways to collaborate with faculty outside of the building to sort of integrate digitally into their classrooms. I would categorize our attempt to prioritize both archival intelligences and digital scholarship as a potential lesson. Although these dual focuses made for a really rich content, it was a lot for fellows to digest, especially in our shorter orientation schedule. And most fellows ultimately leaned one way or the other. And more were drawn to the material aspects of special collections research anyway. So you can see the way our priorities manifested by viewing the agenda for our 3-day orientation. On the first day, we focused on LSU Special Collections and the archival intelligences that are useful in doing special collections research. On day 2, we focused on digital scholarship, reading works like the Digital Humanities Manifesto, and then the last day centered critical perspectives on archives and digital humanities. Throughout the fall semester, we built on these orientation conversations in our bi-weekly fall meetings. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Zach.
Thanks, Leah. Critical perspectives is an important segue here because starting with a group who was mostly unfamiliar with archival research and all of the quirks and esotericness of library work in general, we had some work to do, especially to acknowledge the barriers to our collections, to our building, and to our own institutional history and our complicity in upholding the power structures that existed over LSU's complicated and often violent history. So we started at a very basic level to address archival intelligence and equalize everyone's understanding of what was capable with our staff and our holdings and the technology that we had at hand. We tried our best to scaffold the projects with our knowledge of the collections and tools while still empowering the faculty members to be creative as they planned their course projects. Now, the fellowship was born out of the instruction program at LSU Special Collections. We typically host around 70 one-shot instruction sessions where individual classes visit our physical teaching space in the library. The teaching team works one-on-one with faculty members to curate a unique one-shot using the primary sources held in Hill Memorial Library. But we felt that we needed to open up the archives to our faculty in some new ways. Faculty fellows gave us the chance to work with a couple of new, at least to us, disciplines. I was paired as the collaborator with Professor Ann Williams from the School of Social Work, whose graduate class on the history of social welfare and policy asks students to approach some of these topics through a social justice lens. Professor Williams focused special attention previously in the class on the civil rights period, particularly through the story and the oral history of LSU's first Black undergraduate student, A.P. Turo Jr. Now, when Professor Williams applied for the project, she didn't know that we had just accepted Mr. Turo's personal archives from his life and career as an educator and an activist. So that was kind of a serendipitous moment for us. If the name sounds familiar to you, Mr. Turo is the son of the New Orleans civil rights attorney, A.P. Turo Sr., whose archival papers are at Amistad. The Turo papers were, as I mentioned, a new collection and entirely unprocessed, and that presented some initial challenges. We maybe wouldn't do that again, but we kind of made the decision to use that because of this particular class and the timing of it. Professor Williams had happened to be teaching the class concurrently with the Fellows program, so we were able to kind of model it in real time. But we still had to develop the idea that an idea that the class could use for their project. So we decided to invite them in and have them dive into the papers. Leah designed a primary source folder analysis lesson plan for their class visit that centered on the Turo papers. We can take a look at that here on our schedule. For that day, we had a 30-minute intro to special collections, including a discussion of the collection lifecycle, handling guidelines, and how to navigate the catalog and finding aids. We then introduced the students to the Turo story through the papers, as well as some other collections that were displayed out in our classroom. We had the students break into pairs to analyze pre-selected folders from the various collections that we had brought out, and then they shared their notes with the class. Together, we spent about 20 minutes trying the search terms and keywords that the students came up with in our catalog to see what else we could link these items to. We then gave the students the catalog records for the collections their folders came from and asked how they would revise the access points for greater discovery. This was a really great exercise in this kind of primary source literacy. The class's project used some of what we showed in the classroom that day. Through the archives and records, they attempted to, in their project, reconstruct the campus culture and public attitudes toward Turo's integration of LSU, and they weighed that against their professional responsibility and code of ethics as social workers to challenge those injustices. This was just one of 6 projects that allowed us to insert archives and digital tools into the teaching faculty's curricula. We would be happy to chat with you further. There's a code right here to our resources, and Brandy's going to drop a link in the chat for those as well. This includes the lesson plan, Leah's lesson plan, and the worksheet along with our slide deck. And we're happy to share more documentation about our program and put you in touch with the folks at UGA if you're thinking about starting something like this. And I just want to take the last couple of seconds to thank Leah for, all of the credit to this program belongs to you, and it really helps us to actualize our vision for opening up these collections and these spaces to the teaching faculty. And it's been a real benefit, and we're so excited to carry that torch into the second year. So I'll leave that with you if you have any final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. It was a wonderful experience. I would love to answer any questions at the end of this presentation. I think with that, we can hand it back to the moderators.
Yes, thank you. I am trying to get myself back on track here. So that was, I love how you have moved from institution to institution, taking and giving back to another place. So thank you very much for sharing that and being welcoming to share potentially for other institutions. We are saving questions, but you can put them in the chat and we will take care of that at the end. Next, we have Lori Spradley with Teaching Social Consciousness by Using Graphic Novels. Lori Spradley is an assistant professor and reference librarian for the College of Human Sciences at Auburn University. Lori has presented at local and national conferences on embedded librarianship, library marketing, literature review strategies in human sciences, and graphic novels. Lori.
Wow, it makes it sound like I've done so much. Thank you so much. Special thanks to all the moderators and everyone here. It's so wonderful to see some familiar faces, people I had the pleasure to work with in the past. But let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm just gonna share my screen here. Okay. All right, lovely. Okay, so today we're just going to go over teaching social consciousness by using graphic novels. All right, so our objectives. Originally, I did this to help a lot of my students who were having major issues with understanding others. Other students who were from different locations, other students who had different experiences. So that was my main impetus for this presentation and hopefully pretty soon the paper. But our objectives is to increase student engagement in college classrooms, to identify ways graphic novels can support diverse student populations through scaffold instruction, and to provide students with opportunities to learn practical skills such as visual literacy, which, by the way, I've noticed is lacking in a lot of our college level classes. So graphic novels, a lot of people get them mixed up with comic books. I always like to tell people that with graphic novels, there is a clear beginning and there is a clear ending. Your comic books can last forever. There are so many, when you think of your issues of Spider-Man and Superman, there's so many different iterations of that particular comic book. But the wonderful thing about graphic novels, they can be fiction, nonfiction, anthologies, but they're always going to be in that comic strip or image-based format. Okay. So the use of graphic novels is really for differentiated instruction, which is probably my favorite. Just realizing that all students learn differently, and a lot of people don't realize that. And there are some who don't want to realize that. Reading development, student engagement, and just supporting diverse students. All right. Okay, so the graphic novel that we're going to look at today is going to be American-Born Chinese. This has been one of my favorites. While reading it, I quickly related. I remember moving to a new school, a new place, and coming into the classroom and being introduced and, having a sporade of questions. And some of them were negative questions and negative comments. And so while reading this, it kind of took me back to my 7-year-old self. All right. But the great thing about this is we're going to be looking for examples within American-Born Chinese. And the two literary forms we're going to be looking for are stereotypes. And we're also going to be looking for intertextuality. I will tell you, teaching this before, immediately those stereotypes jumped off the page. A lot of the first time I taught it, the students quickly realized all the stereotypes. And so did the instructors when I taught the instructors the same presentation. Some of them are extremely glaring, you know, immediately. And some they can be a little questionable. I noticed that both groups, my students and my faculty, had issues with intertextuality. At the bottom of this PowerPoint, I gave you two really good examples. So basically, intertextuality is just when the text is referenced within another text. Or so one of those examples is the film The Little Mermaid. All right, that one's probably the most obvious. You have the original Little Mermaid, and then you've got the remake. When you look at that remake, you find elements in the original. All right. Another example I have here is Spaceballs. Spaceballs is a parody of Star Wars. All right. Another example would be The Simpsons. The Simpsons use intertextuality all the time. Whenever they're speaking of a joke, they're referencing another piece of text. Sometimes they're referencing a picture. They are great about using intertextuality. Some movies that we've seen in the past, one that immediately comes to mind is Clueless, which, you know, I don't know if any of you had to read Emma in high school. I know I did, but that is Clueless. It's just a remake. Back to Disney, you know, The Lion King is a take on Shakespeare's Hamlet, right? Another Disney element that infuses intertextuality is Aladdin. There's a piece in Aladdin when you see the genie, he's messing around and gets a crab caught on his finger. That's a take on The Little Mermaid. When you look at it, Sebastian, it's actually Sebastian on his finger. So intertextuality is used a lot. Forgive me, I hope I didn't have to explain stereotypes, but we'll go back to it just in case. So the definition of a stereotype is something conforming to a fixed or general pattern, especially standardized mental picture that is held in common by members of a group that represents an oversimplified opinion, prejudiced attitude, or uncritical judgment. All right, moving on. So today's activity. So we're going to review a couple of passages from American-born Chinese, and we are going to find the literary forms of stereotype and intertextuality. All right. I would like to use this as group work. I don't know how many participants, but what we can do, so you can definitely just speak up if you find something that's it's absolutely glaring and you have to share. I don't mind. But you're going to find examples of stereotypes and intertextuality within the passage. You're going to look for information for the graphic novel. You can write it down and you can share it, okay? All right, so this is a good example, all right? So stereotypes, anybody want to share? Don't be afraid. I won't bite, I promise.
The depiction as an Asian as just, you know, a yellow, big teeth, no eyes open, it's a very old and horrible depiction that was especially seen around, you know, the time of World War II and even in cartoons after.
You're absolutely correct. Thank you. Anyone else see some elements? I notice no one's kind of hit intertextuality yet.
I
know.
I stuck it
Anyone
in the
else?
chat, but I said the R and the L switch. And isn't that the song the guy sang for American Idol?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that would be intertextuality. This comic, this graphic novel is mentioning American Idol within the text. So yes. Anything else?
Well, and of course, then too, with the stereotypes that they don't speak English, the person is not speaking English, quote, properly, that there's an accent of that depicted.
Yes. Yes, perfect. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on. Let's see. All right. So remember, we are looking for intertextuality and we're looking for stereotypes. So I would just want you to take a look at the panels that are before you and see if you can make any connections. Stereotype, stereotypical behavior. Remember, it could be words, it could be pictures. Intertextuality also can be words or pictures. Remember, your intertextuality is going to be the mentioning of another form of entertainment within what you're looking at now, whether it's a song, film, a movie, a book, anything.
There's a lot coming into the chat. I think people don't want to necessarily unmute.
Okay.
Oh
But
yeah, that's what
yes,
I was about to say too, if you want me to
yes,
read the
so that
chats. So we have transformers used as intertextuality.
Perfect. Yes.
More than
Someone
meets
also
the
said
eye.
last one may also have had location stereotype being a library. Oh, on the previous slide, you had a library and noise in a quiet place.
Yes.
But yeah, another person with the Transformers song, intertextuality here.
Yeah, very much so. Yes. All right. Perfect. Okay, since we've got that one, let's go ahead and move on. I don't want to waste too much time. All right, let me. Oops. All right, so this one to me was completely awful, but go ahead. All right, so remember, we're looking for stereotypical behavior, stereotypes. I will even take microaggressions or macroaggressions if you're feeling frisky, and of course, intertextuality. Not
So
all
she-
panels have intertextuality, just putting that out there.
She calls him Jing Jang, which reminds me of that student who she was like on social media who was saying something about Asian students talking in the library, and she was saying they were saying like Ching Chang or something. I don't remember exactly what she said, but that reminds me of that.
Yes, yes. And then you see him going, is Jen Wang. It's Jen
Jen Wang.
Wang. Like, that is not my name.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also saying that he moved all the way from China when that he was not. He was a native of a different city in America. So
Right.
Yeah, in the chat, we also have the stereotype of teachers never pronouncing a student's name correctly. Thought that
Right.
was interesting, as that has happened to me before.
Yes, yes. Yes, or making the assumption that your name is going to be someone else. That has happened to me before.
and Lori,
all right.
it looks like it advanced, but if you go back to
Sure.
I did notice that the one student raising his hand looks kind of angry. He's wearing dog tags and like a green army shirt. Don't know
Yeah.
already if we're setting up for some, oppositional and maybe like military thinking against this person.
Yes, and
Yes,
we'll
I
see
was
that.
thinking that too, like generational racism there, possibly.
Yes, Yes, and we'll touch on a little bit of it later, but yes, you're absolutely correct. There's lots of use of foreshadowing, so yes. All right, let's go ahead and move on. All right. So any elements of racism and intertextuality in these panels?
Well, the intertextuality of, your wish is granted if you forfeit your soul. In so many, the portrait of Dorian Gray. I'm thinking of the opera and I can't think of it right now, but
Is it Faust?
yes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Another element I picked up on too, what I immediately questioned the older Asian woman, handing out the advice and giving information.
the knowledgeable old wife.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Let's go ahead and move on to number 4. All right. So we have Jen here who's eating his lunch. As you can see, he is by himself, which is also extremely sad. You see the kids above him are during recess, they're having a good time, and then the comments.
Asian people eating dog.
And that your food is somehow different or wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you see that, I believe it was Alicia that mentioned the opposition of the young man with the dog tags. He comes in and he's like, what the hell is that? Right? So you may not understand, but instead of, asking, what are you eating, Jen? He immediately jumps to the conclusion that it's something awful, something negative, something stereotypical. All right, let's go ahead and move on. All right, slide 5. Okay. All right, I skipped a little bit through here, but we can see some of the students having a conversation. The previous page, a student tried to step in and just kind of let them know, like, hey, it's recess, let's go have fun. Oh, and by the way, you should probably leave him alone. He's eating, not, you're consistently making fun of him. You should stop, but just in passing, leave him alone. And so he's like, oh. So, but remember, we're looking for stereotypes and we're looking for intertextuality. I'm going to check the chat.
Also,
If
obviously,
someone,
if you're standing up for someone else, then you must be lover of them, therefore gay and a slur.
and there's also
Right.
sort of like a stereotype of like Asian men being like demasculinized anyway. So if he's, aligning himself with an Asian boy, then he must also be demasculinized.
Yes. Thank you, Daniel. I'm glad you hit the nail on the head. I'm glad you mentioned that. And we'll see that in a few minutes too. Anyone else?
In the chat, the reference to Lassie, that he's going to eat the dog. And
Yeah.
certainly, Bucktooth, again, that hideous image that for so many years was perpetuated with buck teeth, yellow-skinned, slant-eyed people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and move on here. All right. So this is our very last slide. Just to give you a little backstory, Jen asked his crush out on a date. As you can see, Jen's hair has changed. He noticed by, talking and just sitting And speaking with his classmates, everybody was crazy over Greg's hair, his curly blonde hair. Jen couldn't go blonde. His mom wouldn't let him, but he decided to grow his hair out just a little longer and get a perm so he could have curly hair like Greg. All right. So during this process, after he gets the perm, he decides to ask out his crush. They go on a date. They have a good time. And the day after this happens, I'll let you read it.
So he had seemed like he was a good guy and that he would stand up for him, but it was to a point.
Mm.
It was only so far as it doesn't actually affect my life or the lives of anyone that I actually know.
And, you know, that socially, the social consciousness, we're starting to look at groups and who hangs out with whom, and you're not part of the group that we want people to hang out with.
Right, from the chat, someone said the class system.
Yes, yes. It's extremely apparent, and it's kind of sad to see Jen go through this, because when you start at the beginning of the graphic novel, Jen is always smiling. Jen is happy. He is happy, just hanging out with his friends. He's even happy doing homework. He's just a happy kid. And as you know, going through the move, which can be stressful for anyone, but obviously for a child to leave, you know, family and friends behind, moving to a new school, moving to a new city, and then you are addressed with such racial trauma that you may not know how to deal with, that can be pretty perplexing. It can be perplexing for adults in some cases, just
Yeah,
like
I'm
children.
assuming Amelia's white, but there's the interracial relationship that the
She
kids are
is.
probably learning from their parents. So that's a big part of it too, I think, of why he's saying she has to pay attention with who she hangs out with and doesn't want him to ask Amelia out.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. And Amelia is white. And like I said, the date went great, you know, just two kids hanging out at the movies, and this happens.
In our
So,
chat, there's this statement, Greg would 100% say he's not racist, he's just being practical.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it happens quite often. You have a lot of people who engage in racist activities, racist language, but the first thing, if they're called on it, you know, the first thing they say, oh, I'm not racist. My favorite is, I'm not racist. I have friends who are, insert the minority. That's probably my favorite one. All right. Okay, these are my references. I'm going to stick around if anybody wants to talk.
Well, thank you, Lori.
All right.
I love graphic novels. And then also I do really love how you are implementing them, especially at a college level, and for teaching individuals about social consciousness and a way, you know, showing them a mirror to say, do you see these things happening around you, you know, or by you? So,
Yes, thank you.
well, thank you very much. And yes, we will keep the information and keep going here.
All right.
Finally, we have Daniel DuPont with I Can Canva, and so can you. Basics to advanced techniques for creating snazzy web and print graphics. Daniel is a librarian at Delgado Community College in New Orleans. He lives with 3 cat children and 1 human child. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, hi, I am Daniel. I do use he, him, and they, them pronouns, so have fun with that. So my presentation is I can Canva and so can you, basic to advanced techniques for creating snazzy web and print graphics. I am sorry for the back end of that. I thought up I can Canva and so can you, and I thought that was really good, and then couldn't think of what to come after that, and I sort of whiffed it there. Um, but I'm going to talk to you about what you can do with Canva to make better graphics, some of the things that you may not, if you've used Canva, you may not have dug down into it. I used to, in a previous life, I did technology tutorials. And so I'm the person who goes and like digs around and pokes and presses every single button. And so that's how I found out all this stuff. I had previously joined a webinar that I think was given by Canva about using how to make the most of Canva and using some of their features. And I didn't learn anything new from it. I came out of it feeling really sort of like, "Bleh, what was that about?" And one of my colleagues felt the same way. And I was like, okay, so it wasn't just me. So maybe I could share some of the things I had learned. So this is my sort of like more professional graphic that I do. And then this is the actual title card. I always make a real title card that fits the actual presentation. Before I really get started, I wanted to thank the NOLA ILC for giving me a chance to speak on this. I hope it's helpful for everyone. I usually do more heavier topics, and it's nice to talk about something that's a little more fun. And I also wanted to thank y'all for that land acknowledgement. I like to do that sort of thing at the beginning of a presentation, but without something actionable with it, I always feel like it falls flat and I never know where to go with that. And so that you gave us a lot of really good resources and I really appreciate that. So here is my presentation. I have this quote here: art is already advertising. Mona Lisa could have been used to support a brand of chocolate, Coca-Cola, or anything else. My kid's dad has a degree, and it's actually 2 degrees in art. And I asked him, can you guess who said that? And he was like, no, he's like, no. And I said, okay, think about it. Look who's talking about art and advertising. It's Andy Warhol. Of course it was Andy Warhol. And uh, the Mona Lisa has been used in lots of advertising since then, since Andy Warhol said this. And I'm putting this here because advertising, branding can be art. It can be something attractive. It can be something that looks good, and it doesn't just have to be something informational. So this is a little bit about me. I'm a librarian and assistant professor at Delgado in New Orleans. I research how to best serve LGBTQ plus populations in libraries and higher education, which is the heavier topic I'm usually talking about. Like I said, or like Alicia said, I have 3 cat children and 1 human child. I'm active on Bookstagram, mostly for the free books, which is where I use most of my Canva know-how is on Bookstagram, which is like the book side of Instagram. If you've heard of Book Talk, it's like Book Talk, but on Instagram. And I'm reading 365 books this year. I am ahead by about 5 books. I've read 216 so far, which is not healthy, and I do not recommend it. So here are 2 posts that I've done for Instagram. I just wanted to give y'all an idea of like what I've done. I've done these from, I created templates and then posted about books that I had read. So let's start off talking about templates. Never start a graphic from scratch. Never, don't do that. Get yourself a template. Always start from a template. Never start from that blank square or that blank rectangle that you'll get at Canva. Go to the templates and search for whatever you're making. I'm going to be searching for an event. I'm going to create like an event graphic in this, but you can search for recommendations, book reviews. I do a lot of book reviews. If you're doing something about a holiday, whatever your topic is, you can search for that there and limit to templates. If you do projects, it's just going to search within your own projects. Then when you find, you start looking at templates, go over here to the filters, and you want to limit to if you're doing social media, like if you're doing an Instagram post, you can limit by, I always do square posts. They let you do portrait posts now. You can do a portrait post if you want. But if you're doing something for Facebook, you can, limit to Facebook posts, or if you're not doing social media at all, if you're doing a presentation like this is a Canva presentation, you can limit to presentation projects. Then you can choose style, theme, topics. And then also, if you're not on the pro plan, limit to free templates. That way you're not having to scroll through a bunch of things that look really pretty that you can't use. So here I chose a template that I liked, and it'll also give you, Canva will give you a bunch of other templates more like this that they think are kind of in the style. I'll sometimes go through and I'll just keep scrolling and finding more like this and end up with like 6 different templates open, and I can go through and look at the different ones I want. It's a really nice feature that Canva has, help you sort of browse and find what you want. But I grabbed this template and I'm going to click customize this template. So here is my template. We're going to use some styles. So instead of going through and changing the colors and making the colors what I want them to be to begin with, I'm going to go to the design panel over here on the left-hand side, and I'll click styles. And this is where we'll find preset color palettes, font sets and font and color combinations. They adjust the colors and the fonts at the same time, which is really handy. So if you go to color palettes and click see all, you'll see all of the color palettes that Canva has already created. And you can go through and just find one you like and then click it. And if you keep clicking it, it'll randomize it and change the colors for you. So you can see that this is one color palette, and it just readjusted all the colors for me to make it. I think this one will do it like about 5 or 6 times, depending on how many colors are in that color palette. Sometimes color palettes only have 3 or 4 colors. Sometimes they have like 6. But it'll just randomize it and put it all of your graphic, change your graphic, make it look completely different depending on what you want. So once you found a color palette you like, pick a font combination. So I ended up doing a different color palette than that pink one, but this is the color palette I went with. Still in styles, we're going to look at their font sets. So I chose this font set right here. You can just go through and look at all of them. It will update your fonts. Now, because the fonts are assigned to headings, subheadings, and body text, they don't randomize like the color palettes. So back at our color palettes, I could just keep clicking all day, and these would just keep going and going and going and randomizing these colors. No matter how many times I hit this font set, it's going to say, this is the heading font. This is the text font. This is the subheading font, because that's just how it's going to be. It's never going to put this funny looking font as my text. But you can go through and scroll and see which one you like, do that, and then you could go through and edit this if you want. If you decide, no, I need it a little bit bigger, I need it a little bit smaller, you can always change that. And like I said, they have font and color combinations you can use too if you don't want to do them separately. Now we're going to add and edit some images. So in the elements panel, which is right here, our elements panel, which is right below design, you can search for images by keywords or tags. And you want to limit your search to illustrated graphics, photos, videos, shapes, that sort of thing. So you can, if you're just looking for graphics, you would click graphics here. If you want photos, you would click photos. If you wanted to add, if you're doing something like not print, if you're doing an online graphic and you wanted it to have motion, you could add a video. Shapes, if you needed like just a square of text, like down here where it says don't miss it, there is a shape. There's a shape behind it. So you can grab a shape if you wanted a shape of color. Many images on Canva are only available with a subscription. That's that pro feature. But you can find free stock images and videos online. There's lots of places. I'm sure, anyway, if you're working with any sort of design, if you're making any sort of graphics at all, you already know about like Unsplash, Pexels. You can search for free stock images and find lots of websites. Your institution may also provide access to a subscription stocks images site. You can check with them. As at Delgado, we have free access to Adobe stock images. So it's stock.adobe.com. and we have all of the stock images there that normally we would have to pay for. We can get them for free there. So your institution may also have access to something like that. But just keep on the lookout for this little crown. That's that Pro Canva icon. If you try to use that, it'll leave a watermark on it. And I have been to presentations at actual conferences where they did not pay for the image. Some of the images you can buy for like a one-time use, or you could go ahead and get get 1 month of it, of the membership, so you can use it. They didn't do that and had a watermark. They were giving a presentation. There's a watermark, or there's like big X's over the image, over the entire image, and it just, don't do that. Just go ahead and get yourself a free image. When you select an image, Canva will recommend similar graphics to coordinate with your design. So I was looking at these like squiggles and different graphics here, and Canva was like, hey, you might like other little squiggly graphics. You might like these little arrows or these little squiggly happy faces, little hand-drawn graphics. So that's a good way to find more things in a similar style to what you're doing. You could click see all and see more graphics that might fit with your design. So we've found some graphics, we found some images we want to use, and we're going to go ahead and edit the image because maybe it just doesn't look exactly how we want it. So in the effects panel, right over here, we're going to apply some preset filters. I didn't show y'all what that looked like because it's basically like if you've ever added like a filter on Instagram or something, it's the same thing. So there's lots of preset filters over here in effects. You can make it black and white, whatever you want to do. Over here in adjust, that's when you can get really granular with it. You can adjust the shadow, the whites and blacks, the vibrance. You can switch out colors. So if I wanted to remove the yellow and make it more blue, or remove the blue and make it more yellow, you can do that. Get really into adjusting it exactly how you want it. And if you have several images, you can copy that style, those adjustments you've made with the copy style tool. It's just like if you ever copy styles in Word, you can do that. It'll work on anything. Or you can copy styles on text to more text. You just select whatever style you want to use, hit that paintbrush, and then paste it onto whatever other graphic you want. So now we're going to arrange some layers. And I think this is really, you may have the other things that I've done so far, you probably already familiar with, at least to some extent, the adding graphics, making sure you're not getting those paid images, even like looking at templates, using the filters. So a lot of that's self-explanatory, even if you haven't dug down into it as much as I have, because I'm an insane person. But layers are great. One of the things that I think is a barrier with Canva is you go to grab some text, or you go to grab like this, what I have here as highlighted, selected here, where it's got the date, July 31st, 2024, time, speaker. I might go to grab that and I accidentally grab the background, or I go to grab this section of text here and I grab a different section of text. And that's really frustrating. A way to avoid doing that is to click here. Let's see, click position up here, and then arrange and layers. You can make adjustments to individual elements. So you can move things forward and backward. So you can see I have where it says I can Canva is behind, and so can you. And here at NOLA ILC form, I think is actually, you can't really tell, but it's on top of, and so can you. So you can move things backwards and forwards. You can put it all the way to the back if you want to. You can adjust things. You can align things to the top, the bottom, the center of the image. Now, if you tell it to go to the top, it's not aligning it to like the top of, like, if you're working in a document, like the printable area, it slams it all the way to the very top of that graphic. So just keep that in mind if you're using like top, left, right, bottom, that sort of thing. But it's really good if you want to get something right in the center, right in the middle of the graphic. So it'll center it here, center it in the middle. And you can select multiple elements. So I selected the date, the time, and the speaker, and then I can use here where it says space evenly, I can arrange them vertically, tidy them up, arrange them horizontally so that they are the space between them is more even. So I've got this big space between date and time, and then not much space between time and speaker. Canva will automatically fix that for me. That's another problem I've always had with Canva. Coming from having worked with Adobe in the past, I found it much easier to get really precise with spacing and making sure things were aligned in Photoshop than I was here. But then when I found this sort of arrangement, I was able to put things where I needed them to go. You can also adjust width and height, and then make sure things are adjusted where you want them to be on the X and the Y plane. And you can rotate stuff too. So here is arranging layers, still in arrange. You can adjust an element size. So if, say, I want to make this image smaller, I could adjust the width and the height, and you want to make sure that if you want to preserve that ratio, you hit that little lock icon. You can move it on the X and the Y plane if you want to. This is a really good way if you have a bunch of images and you want to make sure they're all lined up, or even just like a bunch of text, and you want to make sure all of your text is lined up along, it's like justified along the left side, that it just make sure it's all got the same X value, and then it'll all be, you know, right aligned properly. Excuse me. You can, then you'll want to click layers, and you can see all of the elements. You can see each individual element that I have in my design here when I click layers. So each bit of text, there's the time, where it says don't miss it. I said there was a shape behind don't miss it. The date, so you can see that for some reason don't miss it, and the shape behind don't miss it is a layer above the date. So if I were to move this up here, it would actually be on top of it. It would block it. So that might be something, if I were moving things around, I might want to change that. But you can see how all of my layers are arranged. If I wanted to, I could grab a layer and just in this list, grab it and just drag it up and down to change its position if it's above or below something. You can also group elements together. So here I've got this title. I've selected several. So I used like my shift key, I held down the shift key, selected whatever I wanted to select, and then I can click group. And so that way, if I go to move this section of text, it'll all move together. I don't have to worry about realigning it correctly. I can also, if I decide, oh no, the title is too big, I can make it all smaller together. I'll resize it all together. But now that we've talked about layers and all of like creating the graphics, I want to talk a little bit about using folders to organize your designs. Because that's another thing I think that people miss. Once you've created about 70, 80 graphics in Canva, you start to lose them. There's just like, you've got this huge list of graphics, or you've got a huge list of documents, and where is everything? It's really good idea to start creating folders. Any template or design you open goes into your project. You might see like, oh, this template looks nice. I'm going to open it and take a look at it. Now that's your project. You've looked at it once. It belongs to you now, and it's in your projects, even if you never touch it again. And then you end up with a lot of clutter. So click projects in the sidebar back in the at your Canva home screen, and just start creating folders for yourself and start organizing your designs and your uploaded images too into those folders. Create folders within folders within folders. And then you can sort them by date or file name, and you can change the design, the folder and file names as needed. So you can see here, this is my Bookstagram folder. So it's book stuff, because we get goofy with it. And so I have a folder for 2023. I have 2024, different assets that I use, backgrounds I use, book covers, these are author names, so A through K, then L through Z, because I think it's 200 is the limit of things you can have in a folder, and I had way more than that. and then templates I've created. And here's a folder of the templates I've created. So we're going to look at collaborating with a team too, because this is great for personal use, but if you're using it in your library, you want to share this with more than one person. They do allow you to create teams, but you have to be on a paid account, and nobody wants to do that. So click share. If you've got your graphic open, click share in the upper right, and you can create a link to share it with a collaborator. Right now it's set to only I can access, but you can click it, you can set it, click anyone with a link and set it so that no sign-in is required. Anyone's going to be able to access that. Anyone's going to be able to update it. But I mean, they would have to have the link. Who's going to find that link? Share the link with whoever you want to. But you can create it to can view, can comment, or can edit. If you decide that you're done sharing it, just change it back to only can view, or change it to only you can access, and then it's not accessible to anyone anymore. You've gotten rid of access to it. But that's a way that you can make that graphic or that document or that design accessible to your colleagues. Another way to do that is in the share menu. Again, up here in the share menu, you would click more down here at the bottom, click more, and then click template link. And then you've created a template from your design that you can share with your team. And unlike your collaboration link, your template link preserves your original design, but lets your team members create their own copy and edit their own copies, while your copy is secure and your copy never gets edited by anybody else, but other people can use it. And it's a good way of creating a cohesive look for your library, your institution, while letting other people still work together. So I'm going to talk a little bit about creating your own templates. So once you find a designer style you like, stick with it. So those templates are great from the beginning that I showed you, but I started seeing, like, I saw a flyer here at Delgado and I was like, oh, that's Canva. They made that in Canva, because I've seen that. It starts getting really obvious. So once you've made a design your own, keep using that design. Create templates, master copies, favorite designs as starters for new projects, and then duplicate those personal templates over and over and over again. Just don't edit the original templates. Reusing similar designs with different colors, fonts, or images can create a cohesive brand. This is why you want to be sharing, if there's more than one person who's going to be creating the social media graphics, or didn't mean to go forward, or creating documents for your institution or for your library, you can all share templates, because then you're creating a cohesive brand. And I'm sorry, I hate talking about branding, but it looks good if everything looks the same. So here's something that I did. This is it says 2024 template quotes. So I took, it was just a feeling, and Hazard hated feeling. So it's from a book. I just really liked that quote. And I made a bunch of different styles, a bunch of templates for how to share that quote. So if I have another quote that I want to share, I can take one of these. I don't have to choose a new font. I don't have to recreate this thing I did with, it was really time consuming that I did with the quotation marks in this line. I've got a place down here at the bottom where I put the title of the book and the author's name. I don't have to recreate all of that. All I have to do is change the actual text, just update whatever the quote is, update the title of the book, maybe change the color of this, whatever this blue sort of partially transparent background is, and then change the image. This was, I used a railroad track because there was a scene where they were crossing a railroad track, and it was really sort of important to the character. So I would change whatever that graphic is. And there's one down here, it's from the same book. It says, I think people who read novels are fantasists in desperate need of emotional dope to anesthetize them against the reality of their meaningless existence. And then the person he's talking to says, I read novels. I know, but we're working on that. I also loved that quote. And so I took the same template, I changed the color and then I added, the picture behind it is a set of bookshelves. So it took very little I didn't have to like start from scratch. Wasn't reinventing the wheel to create a template. I mean, to create a post. It was just dating things. And then here's another set. This is I think there's about 115 different images or different designs in this one big design. And it's my 2024 template of book reviews. And so you can see a lot of them are really, really similar. I mean, it's probably pretty small. You probably can't see all that well, but there'll be like a book, the cover, maybe the title, maybe a different way of looking at it, and then a little description. There might be the book again, and then a description, and then some text about the book. And then it'll be a similar thing, but it's a different design. It's the book cover, maybe the title, and then the same design, but with the text about the book. And then I do that again over and over and over again. So whatever the book is about, whatever I think fits the style of the book or the mood of the book, I can choose a graphic that fits that or choose a set of graphics that fits that and then create a post on Instagram for it. Oh, and the thing is, I never edit this file. This design never gets edited. What I do is I'll make a copy of it and then delete like the 110 pages I don't need, or I'll copy the ones I do need into a new file. This never gets edited, and then this set of quotes never gets edited. And then here are some recent posts that I've done that I just wanted to show you how I use those templates. So this is one. This is why no one likes you, I muttered while raising my head. You're in the bathroom making Dewey Decimal jokes to yourself. I was listening to this as an audiobook while I was trying to find something, and I was looking at a shelf, and I was like, I wish the Dewey Decimal System would just bend to my will. And then they said this, and I just started giggling at myself. And this took place in a really creepy antique store. And so there's a picture of a really creepy antique store behind it. The main character of the book sees in black and white. I added a little blue here for y'all, but when I posted this was actually just gray. There was he has he's legally blind, doesn't see color. So this was all in black and white to fit that. This one down here, it's about a teacher. So I put a blackboard as the background. And I made the colors to match the cover of the book. Here's a book post I did about a book it was an audiobook, Delay of Game. And so to make this post, all I had to do was change the cover, change the picture that I had in the center, because this post was ready to go. And then I changed the color of the background to match the color that was in the text for the title. And then down here was I already had this all set to go, this template already all set to go, and I just had the genre, the tropes, and then like just a little thing about the book. And then update the text that describes the title, and the author's name. Over here, it's two different posts that came from basically the same template. So this one, My Fair Brady, takes place in a high school. And I use this template that looks sort of like a composition book covered in like cute stickers. And then this one takes place in an elementary school, and it was sort of like pink and peachy and stuff. So I changed the color of like the composition book to this peach and pink. The background is peach and pink. So it's the same template, but I just made it look a little different. I reused it so it's still a cohesive look to it, but it fits the two different books. You can also see that I kept the same sort of text from post to post to post. I have the genre, tropes, and then like a little summary or a little like quippy thing I write about it. Here's tropes, genre, and summary. Here, this one about this book. I said some naughty words, so I blacked that out. But it's genre, tropes, summary, and I have like the title, the author's name, title, author's name. So I keep a lot of it really similar. So I have that, again, that like sort of like cohesive look to my post, but I'm able to update how each post looks so it fits the book that I'm talking about. This one down here was a little bit different it was the author had like right as this book was coming out, the author had just won an award for the book preceding this one, and it's about somebody who works for a newspaper. And so I went out of my way and found a template through Canva that looked like a newspaper, that looked like a newspaper front page, and then sort of fit my style to a template that it gave me. But again, there's my genre, my tropes, my summary. I've got, go away, bottom part. You can see there's the title, the author's name at the bottom, just like all my other posts, keeping it really cohesive, keeping all that same stuff there, just tweaking Canvas template to fit my style. And then that's it for me. I know it was a lot of sort of, here's how you use this thing, follow these steps. So all of these slides are available at this URL. There's also this QR code, which takes you to that URL. And I think Brandy's going to be dropping the URL in the chat too. And please get in touch with me. You can email me. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm also happy to, like, if you wanted to chat real time about it. There's an author that I was talking to who he posted something to Instagram, and he's like, but I didn't know how to share it a different way. And I immediately made him a video of how to share it. And I'm sorry, this is who I am as a person. If you tell me you don't know how to do something and I know how to do it, I'm going to tell you how to do it. And if it's unwelcome, just ignore, because if I can help you in any way, I will. So if you want help doing anything with Canva and I can help you with that, please let me know and I will be there for you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. That was awesome. I learned a whole lot of things with the layering and then the whole branding of saving things. That was very interesting. But I want to go ahead and switch to our Q&A section. And Brandy, did we have any particular questions from anything, or are they mainly, I saw a lot of comments and compliments.
Yes, a lot of good conversation, but no questions that I have. But yes, your reading goal is very impressive, Daniel. Caitlin said that, and I also was thinking, wow, I was proud of myself for getting through 5 books so far. So yes, and Caitlin, great reminder for you guys to be sure to tune in for Daniel's other presentation on Friday.
That one's not as fun.
Yes, lots of links for you guys in the chat that I posted. And then we'll be sending.
And we also want you to please, if you have a moment, fill out our survey. Brandy had put it in, and it is helpful for us for getting your feedback. Do any of our presenters want to say anything or finish off, or have a particular link where they can be reached or such? I just want to make sure I'm covering everything and not cutting anyone off. And we are recording all of this. We will post them onto our YouTube channel. The closed captioning will be generated automatically through Zoom. So if there are some errors, we apologize, that's auto-generated. And if any of the presenters watch themselves back and notice something and we can correct it for you, we would be happy to do that. If you have any questions or comments about NOLA ILC, please feel free to email us at nolailc@gmail.com. Lori has included her email on the chat. Daniel, did you want to share your Instagram account of where you do all these wonderful?
Absolutely not, no.
Oh, okay.
unless you're super into like queer romance, it's 100% queer romance. If you're into queer romance, get at me and I'll send it to you, but like,
Sure.
no.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right, everyone, I hope you can join us for the rest of our conference sessions. We do have 2 more days. We are sending out links in the mornings for people who might sign up for the conference late. We do check that and send that out. So take care, everyone. Stay healthy, stay safe. Hope to see you again.